I'm your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. I want to do a video on the Nigerian clerics and our present economic situation. The tendency is for people to say that clergymen should not get involved in political issues. But unless you understand the definition of politics, you can't understand why clergymen should actively, positively, intentionally involve themselves in the political discourse in their nation. Politics, according to Harold Laswell, is who gets what, when, and how much. So politics determines what you will get, how much you will get, and even when you will get it. So politics involves and revolves around the whole of your life. Number 2, David Easton defined politics as authoritative allocation of resources. When a budget is made, it is law. And so it is through politics that authorities allocate resources to different segments of the economy. And if, as clerics, you are not vocal positively, then you will find out that oppression, deprivation, poverty can become prevalent in your land. I'll just give examples of 2 countries. If you take America, for example, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. took up the case of that seamstress that was told to go to the back of the bus that refused to do that. I think that was in 1950 something in Alabama. Her name was Rosa Parks. It was the bus boycott that was initiated by the Black movement and headed by Martin Luther King Jr. that was conscripted into the movement that eventually culminated in the freedom to some extent that Black Americans enjoy today. And that was why Barack Obama could occupy the White House. People like Reverend Jesse Jackson Jr., Al Sharpton, and a few vocal Black preachers have contributed in no small way towards recognition for the dignity of the Black man in America. George Floyd recently, when he was murdered by those policemen, clergymen came out and spoke against the injustice. So let me go to the Philippines. When Imelda Marcos and her husband, Ferdinand Marcos, were ruling the Philippines, squandered their resources. Ironically, his son is back there as president. You see, the poor, they never learn from history. And Corazon Aquino's husband was assassinated in the airport in Manila. It was Cardinal Sin, the Catholic bishop, Sin is S-I-N-N, that mobilized his nuns to march towards the army barracks. No person could fire at nuns. That was how the reign of Imelda Marcos and her husband, Ferdinand, came to an end. Imelda had 3,000 pairs of shoes. If she wore one shoe every day, it would take her 10 years to come back to that shoe in a very relatively underdeveloped country. So we've seen clergymen The Ayatollah in Iran in 1979, to a large extent, influenced the Iranian revolution. The effect is debatable, but he brought change. Now, I want to look at our Nigerian clergymen. Let me start from my constituency as a Christian. 60% of the bed spaces, hospital bed spaces in Germany is owned by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has more hospitals and healthcare facilities, care for children, care for the aged, has more than any other government in the world, any government in the world. So, healthcare in Germany, to a large extent, is contributed to by the Catholic Church. In the United States, the first 10 big hospitals are faith-based hospitals. Faith-based hospitals. You'll be surprised that Harvard is named after a pastor. Harvard. You'll be surprised that Princeton University, Jonathan Edwards, the man that preached sinners in the hands of an angry God, was president of Princeton at one time. And at one time, the descendants of Jonathan Edwards headed several corporations and prominent positions in the United States of America, including Aaron Burr, that became vice president, but he deviated from his father or grandfather's principle and had trouble. When the missionaries came to Nigeria, a lot of the schools and hospital facilities were established by missionaries. Today, we have the biggest churches in the world, the richest pastors in the world, but we are underdeveloped. If we open schools, open hospitals, the poor cannot attend. The poor cannot afford to attend these universities. How did the missionaries that came, how did they manage their own that they were affordable in those days? Onitsha Hospital, Abak Eye Clinic, Abak, Ienu Hospital, Bishop Shanahan, I think there's a hospital like that. Eku Hospital, Eku Baptist Hospital. Baptist Hospital is saying, Baptist Hospital, Shaki. I think there's a Baptist Hospital in Ogbomosho. How come these individuals who were non-natives had the interest and the welfare of their people, of our people, and established these institutions that helped us to a great deal and produce many people, Olivet Heights School and all that. Now, let me come to the Islamic clerics. Oman, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, even Saudi Arabia, Qatar, they are thinking about satellites going to the moon, launching satellites, space satellites. They are buying over institutions, Dubai ports. They are progressing intellectually. Recently, one match was refereed by a woman. I think in Saudi Arabia, one place, refereed by a woman. But our own clerics, Islamic clerics in Nigeria, they intentionally, many of them, there are good ones, many of them intentionally spread strife, oppression, disunity, and underdevelopment. Today, you are still doing Amajari, or what do they call them? You are still running children around with plates. And you go to Mecca, and you see Saudi Kuwait, you see Dubai, you see different parts of the world, you see Qatar. How come our own Islam is anti-development? And when injustice is going on in this country, they don't speak out. When they speak out negatively. Recently, I watched a video where a senior member of this cabinet, this current administration, was sitting and smiling and shaking hands, and a divisive and erratic Islamic cleric was saying that it is the Igbos that are responsible for this economic hardship and that they should not be allocating money to them. I ask a simple question. Is it their constitutional right to receive allocation from the federal account? If it is, then such kind of people should not be allowed to preach. They should not be allowed. And then a national security advisor was sitting down there, smiling and shaking hands. That is the degree to which religion can assassinate an intellect, can assassinate somebody's mind. And if the northern part of this country continues like this, the emir that was speaking up against some of these things was dethroned. If the clerics in the north continue to deceive their people, misdirect their people, misguide their people, one day they might pay a price. And then let's come back to our Christian leadership. You will see prominent Christian leaders, apart from a few people like them, Paul Eneche, one woman in Abuja, and others that spoke up against the impending disaster that was coming upon Nigeria that we are currently experiencing. A lot of those who are beneficiaries of the wrath, I must not fail to mention Papa David Oyedepo, as among those who spoke out, but some of them who are beneficiaries of the wrath did not speak out. And this country cannot progress if we continue like this. The leadership of both Islam and Christianity, who represent God here on earth, must learn to speak the mind of God. If not, they are hypocrites. I am Dr. Charles Apokin. I love this country and I'm not going anywhere. We die here. We stay here and we'll fight for the good of this nation. God bless you. Subscribe to my channel. Share this video. Send a message to me on +234 70 52 13 6763. I have an online seminar on real estate. You can send a message to the same number, +234 70 52 13 6763. I call my brand of Christianity developmental Christianity. If you go to pilgrimage in Israel and see the beauty there, and you come back to Nigeria and join in the destruction of this country, you are a sinner.